Hi, I'm Stuart from the Norfolk Honey Company and welcome to another Beekeeping Basics. So in the previous video where we were doing the apiary cleanup, I mentioned that we wanted to test one of the colonies, and I've since done that test for Nosema, and actually the colony was perfectly fine. They'd got a very light infection. I only found 2 spores in the entire sample that I took. So the dysentery problem with that colony is not related to Nosema, and they seem generally healthy otherwise, so I'm not going to be too concerned about it. This week, however, we've come to another apiary where we've discovered our very first winter loss. We've got a hive that was a full-size colony that went into the winter well fed and with a large number of bees, but for some reason they've died out, and they've died out within the last couple of weeks. We did have a spell where it was very cold, and I just wonder whether that cold affected them. So what I thought I would do is I'd just take some time to open up the hive and show you exactly what's happened inside that hive, and we'll try and work out whether there's anything that we could have done that would have helped them, or whether they were just going to die out through the winter anyway. So let's spin the camera around and we'll take a look at the hive. So if you've just got yourself some bees last year and this is your first winter going through and crossing your fingers and hoping that your bees are going to survive, it's nice to be able to take a look at the hive and just say, yeah, everything's fine there. And one of the most obvious signs that your bees are okay is that on the warmer midwinter, late winter and early spring days, you can see them out flying and bringing back pollen. So let's just take a look at one of the hives that we know is perfectly fine. So this colony, as you can see, has got plenty of bees flying. They're out on cleansing flights, they're probably out collecting water, and we might even see some coming back with some pollen. We know that this colony is doing well and lots of flying bees, so we're happy with this one. So this colony by comparison has absolutely no flying bees, so that would immediately cause concern and make you think that there was something wrong. So we'll take the lid off and we'll have a look inside. Now we did put some fondant on and they had started feeding from it, so at one point we know that the bees were healthy and taking down the fondant, but something has gone wrong since then, so let's take a look. So here we've got usable honey. It's not granulated, it's runny, and they would be able to take that. Again, we've got more runny honey that the bees could potentially have used for food stores. And here we're into the dead brood nest. And there's a little bit of granulated stores here, but again there's runny honey around them and there's quite a lot of pollen. So at the moment I would say that starvation isn't a ready cause for them to have died. It's a sad sight to see so many dead bees. So here we've got the queen, but then I'm looking around the queen and we can see all of the bees that have gone into the cells, and this is a sign of starvation normally. So it could be that the bees just found themselves trapped in some very cold weather without any food stores immediately around them to be able to feed themselves. So despite having lots of food in the colony, they may well have been isolated and couldn't still get to the fondant that we put on and have died through starvation. Again, in this particular frame we don't have any food around where the cluster would have been, so I'm now more or less convinced that this is probably a starvation issue, despite having lots of food in the hive for them. So again, here you can see that we've got some capped brood. This is now all dead, and there are bees dotted around that look as if they've probably starved. But yet we have a seam of pollen running around the area, and I can see no obvious signs of disease. There's nothing here that would indicate that this is a foul brood problem. And on this side, this is just where the fondant has become moist and has dripped down. But again, there are no obvious signs that this has been caused by any form of disease, so I suspect that starvation is probably the cause. Another frame with lots of pollen that's been stored from last year, and again on this side, lots of pollen here. So these bees had been well prepared for the winter, but unfortunately they just haven't been able to manage with the cold spell that we had. And you can see how the runny honey in the cells is quite viscous, and the bees would need to get some water to be able to liquefy this a bit, but that's not the reason that they've starved. They've just become isolated, I suspect. And here, if you were wondering whether you needed to feed pollen substitute to some of your bees, in this instance they would have been perfectly fine if you just look at all of the pollen that's been stored, and it's a real shame that the bees haven't been able to use it. So it's a real shame that we've lost this colony, and if it was my only colony then I'd be really upset. But we've got lots of others, and maybe this colony just wasn't destined to survive. But one thing that you must do, if you're not going to clean the colony out and take away the dirty frames and clean out all the dead bees, you really need to block up the entrance to make sure that other bees can't get into the hive and rob it. If there is some kind of disease in there, you don't want to spread it either to your other colonies or to other people's bees that might be in the local area. So what we have to do is to remove the entrance block and just turn it round to block up the entrance, and I'll show you how to do that now. Okay, so we just need to loosen the floor. The propolis has glued the entrance block there, but we just change the entrance round, turn it round, and then lower the brood box again, and now that's completely sealed and no other bees can get in to rob this colony. Okay, so that's our first loss of this winter, and if it's the only one we have, I'll be very grateful. We have obviously got lots of good healthy flying bees, the sun's shining, and today being towards the latter part of February, I'm really excited about the coming season. So I hope you found that interesting. Please do consider subscribing if you haven't already, and don't forget to hit the like button and share on social media networks. It'd be great to have you along for the coming season, and we've got lots more planned for this coming year. So I'm going to leave you with our healthy bees, and you can have a look at those flying, and I'm going to go and get cleaned up, and we'll catch up next week. Thanks for watching.